Let's do something a little simple today. Very simple, easy. If you can find charms or attachments or beads like this, I guess you'd qualify them as charms, but these guys here, there's no front or back. They're completely the same all the way around, and that makes them really fun and easy to work with. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to worry about having a front or back or where you put anything. Especially these attachments, which all I did was add a loop and a loop. And that does the same thing because I don't have any specific things on one side that I want you to see more. It doesn't matter which way they turn. You're not, even if the loops are not seen as well like this, nobody's looking at those loops. They're looking at the stones and they're looking at this pretty part right here. So this is fun. I'm going to just do a slightly more advanced version of this exact same thing, but really almost just as easy. So I'm going to take this particular piece. I got these at Michael's. They were in a string. I really don't know the name of them, so I can't tell you how to find them online, but I have found similar ones online. So all I can tell you guys is just look around, or just try to find something that you don't care how it looks as it spins. And I actually want to do some videos on how you can make something that's more 3D like this, where it just looks good from every direction. I have some simple silver swirl earrings. I think if you look up simple silver swirl earrings, you'll find somewhere the silver just goes around like that. So that's kind of fun. Anyway, back to this. These guys, what I want to do, I want to kind of do this thing I did on here, only I want to break up this bead pattern. Really pretty stones, right? I really like how they came out. I think they're all just jasper. I think that's dyed blue, dyed purple, and that's natural red jasper, I'm guessing. They also have that similar pattern that's usually jasper. This is 6mm. This is a flattened 6mm, and this is a 4mm. I'm going to use these exact same beads, but I'm going to space them out differently. So basically, like, this one is going to go above the charm, and then these two are going to go below the charm, like that. And it's, I mean, so there's like nothing really fancy to it. You probably have done this a million times, but just in case, I'll just walk you through it. So you get some 20 gauge or 18. I wouldn't do thinner than 20, because you're just making teeny tiny loops, and they're not holding on to anything else. You don't want them to be too flimsy. So 20 is the limit for how thin I would go. If you make the loops extremely tiny, you could probably get away with 22, because the bigger the loop, the more weak it is in general. So anyway, but here's my 20 gauge. And I didn't even walk you through what I just did. So I'm basically just turning a right angle and then giving myself just enough, like, I call this like 1/3 of an inch. It's like somewhere in between 1/4 and 1/2. It's closer to 1/2 inch. And then I'm using the tiniest bit of the round nose and just rolling it and repositioning and rolling and repositioning and rolling until I get that nice and tight. And I like to have these facing the same way, because it's a good habit for when you do want things to line up a certain way. But in this case, it really doesn't matter if your loops are turned any which way, because this is just, no matter how it turns, it's going to be the same. So I already started this one. So let's start all over again so I can show you from the scratch. So just take a little bit of your 20 gauge, bend it. That's about 1/2 inch, right angle, and then get right on the tip and just start rolling it and repositioning and rolling it and rolling it and rolling it until you get this cute little perfect loop. And go like this to make sure it's flat. There's not, the sharp end isn't sticking out. Press your bead up against it. Turn another right angle, this time against the bead. Make it really tight. I'm overextending the right angle. That's a little bit more than, that's a perfect right angle, right? But either way, cut it with the same amount, about 1/2 inch, a little bit less than 1/2 inch, a little bit less than 1 centimeter, and roll it. Same thing, just very carefully, and reposition until you got these two little teeny tiny loops. That, and now it's just attaching. We just grab an earring hook, turn it upside down so the little ball part falls down if you have this kind with the ball and the what's it called, coil thing. Turn it upside down, fold out the little loop. This is like elementary, but for beginners it's good to know. Nobody taught me this stuff. I ran around my first month asking people, how do you attach stuff to other stuff? Like, I was making ceramic pieces back then, and I had never made jewelry before, and I wanted to start making ceramic earrings, and I'm like, how would I attach them to things? How does that, I didn't even know what the word jump ring was. And so anyway, now we have this part. So really any loop in jewelry you can open and close if it's not completely soldered shut. So, and you always want to open it sideways like a door. That will keep it from warping. If you try to, I'll show you in a second. And then close it again. Make sure it's closed nice and tight. You always want to open a jump ring like this, like you're opening a door. You never want to open it like that because it warps the shape of the circle, and then you'll never be able to get it back. And the two ends won't come together tightly. So you always open it like every loop, every circle, every jump ring in jewelry. That's just generally what you do. So here's these guys. And now I'm just going to do the same thing with these two beads. This is really like a throwback. This is like very basic beginner wire wrapping, but just taking some beads and putting them together in a certain pattern on a wire. Literally, you can make earrings like this, and you can make like 10 pair of these a day, which is like 70 in a week, which is like 280 in a month. And then take those 280 and go to a craft sale and sell them for like $15 each. And that's a pretty reasonable price at this time in 2019 in America. And have your first introduction to the fun of selling handmade jewelry. And it should really always be fun. It should be an adventure. Sometimes it's hard like crazy when the wind and the weather and the turnout is bad or whatever, but always think of it as an adventure. Always look at that bead. Oh my gosh, I love this stone. Look at that. I can't stop looking at it. Sometimes the stone just makes your piece for you. It's like I could do tons of work and it would never match up to just how that stone looks. So cool. Anyway, and that's just 6 millimeters. This is a tiny bead. Look how magnified. It's like, looks like a planet from a sci-fi movie. All right, anyway, so we cut our little, and even this part is hard in the beginning. Like, how much do I cut? I cut too much. My loops look awful. And just keep doing it. You know how many times I've probably made this single loop on a 6 millimeter bead? I would guess probably 10,000 times. And I don't know how off I would be, but if it was way more than 10,000 times, I wouldn't be surprised. So now, get the camera to focus down there. So I'm just going to open these and put them right there. This is a weird charm because everything's set on a diagonal, kind of like this. No, actually it's not. Those line up pretty well. That's weird. I could have sworn I had another. I bought these beads before and the two loops are on a weird diagonal. All right, ignore what I just said. Anyway, that's what I get for rambling too much. So I'm going to open these. Tiny little opening, tiny little bend. Slip them in. Whoops. Lay them gently like that so I get the best angle. Grab them, close the loop, and there's our earring, and that's it. I mean, super gypsy, super cute, nice balance of colors. This is antique copper, by the way, the wire. It's a coated copper, so it won't tarnish, but the color is supposed to resemble tarnished copper. And this charm happens to be close to the same color. It's the same idea. Antique copper made by different manufacturers have a slightly different color, but I tend to put them all together, and they look close enough that never really had anybody complain. And that's it. You can do these super fast when you practice doing a lot of them. You guys go have a ton of fun.